Good afternoon. Also, good morning and good evening, as we have people attending from around the world. And welcome to AEC Software's Project Management Summer Webcast Series. Today's webcast is on Boost Your Project ROI, Return on Investment, by introducing scheduling into your organization. My name is Nicholas DiBenedetto, and I'll be your instructor for the day. I'm a partner at LeapPoint LLC and a certified project management professional from the Project Management Institute. I'm also an earned value professional from the American Association of Cost Engineers. A little bit about my background. I've managed large advisory consulting teams that have provided program management services for multi-billion dollar and $100 million IT portfolios. Additionally, I've managed the development and deployment of worldwide government and commercial software solutions, including a management information system for the Department of State, which runs at their embassies and consulates worldwide. So a little bit about what we're going to discuss today. We'll touch briefly on the history of scheduling, some of the scheduling benefits, and then also what's next and our approach to scheduling with an implementation methodology. And then we'll open it up for questions and answers. So let's get started. Normally when I teach a course, I have a number of learning objectives. However, for today, I have one primary learning objective, which is how to successfully introduce scheduling or mature scheduling within your organization to maximize business results. Quite often I find that organizations end up selecting technology and implementing technology and miss achieving business results. And not only miss achieving business results, but actually end up hurting the organization by spending unnecessary money on the technology they select, and also creating staff frustration, which could result in turnover. So it's very key that we want to go through a systematic process to introduce scheduling to maximize those results, and that's what we'll focus on today. Before we do that, a little bit about the history of scheduling. Scheduling has been around for quite some time. You'll loosely see references to scheduling within Sun Tzu's Art of War, as he talks about strategy, operations, and tactics, and then some scheduling. Additionally, you'll see some of our world's greatest landmarks, such as the Egyptian pyramids, which had to be created with some form of scheduling. Over time, you'll see that scheduling has become more accepted, and thus the creation of the Gantt chart in 1917. You'll see that scheduling is used in all sorts of different fields, from production to manufacturing to marketing to engineering. The major takeaway from this slide is that scheduling can be used for the mega projects such as bridges and superhighways to simple projects such as small websites. A great example is a few years back I was actually married, and my wife, who's a graphic designer, actually used the scheduling tool to prepare for our wedding. So you could think of all the different vendors that we were using, from the flowers to the limousine services. She actually organized and prepared for it within a scheduling tool, which was really useful for myself in the organization of the wedding. So we're going to show you a quick graphic here of what a Gantt chart looks like, and this is leveraging AEC Software's FastTrack schedule. You can see that we have activities on the vertical horizon, and then on the horizontal horizon, we could see the time phasing of those activities. Additionally, you'll see associated costs and resources. And this is the benefit of the Gantt chart, to give you that visual display of your project or projects. So let's talk a little bit about some scheduling benefits. One of the primary benefits of scheduling is that it brings structure to your organization and your project, which quite often translates into higher quality products and services. A great example of this is a personal example that I have with remodelers. Over the past few years, I've leveraged and worked with several remodelers. And I went through several remodelers because I had different results from using them. Eventually, I came to the point where I had a large project and I hired a remodeler. And the team came in and met with me, and then from the discussion we had, they actually put together a schedule. And from that schedule, I could see time phased all of the activities they were going to do within my specific place and when they'd be completed. Now that served two purposes. One, I could tell they were very organized and they were working towards an end goal with dates. And some of those dates were very helpful for me as I knew when I had to have, and this was actually a condo of mine, of when I had to have the particular renter leave the premises for some of the work they were completing. So it was really effective in bringing that structure to the actual project that they were completing, which ultimately gave me the best product and service that I've seen from a remodeler to date. And as you can imagine, I'm consistently using that remodeler for additional work in the future. So not only do you get the structure and organizational benefit, but the other thing, which is very beneficial from using the schedule in this regard, is that it brings confidence to your clients and those that you work with. And it's very helpful in not only delivering the work that you're doing, but for also winning new work. Some other scheduling benefits is that a schedule improves communication and collaboration, not only across your internal staff, but also your external staff that you may be working with. So for example, subcontractors and vendors. And ultimately, this improves your overall schedule and cost efficiency for the project. So another example, a construction project. For those of you that aren't familiar with construction, you may see construction projects going on in and around where you work or live. And with construction projects, it's very clear that there's a number of teams working together to complete the construction project. And a schedule is the tool that helps communicate and collaborate all the different internal and external staff. A great example of how it can benefit you from a schedule and cost perspective is, imagine if you're building a house, and within that house, the subcontractors are very dependent upon the work one another provides. In one instance, if a subcontractor is falling behind, you wouldn't want the other subcontractor to appear on site until they're complete. Well, I've seen lots of examples on construction sites where there are subcontractors that are on the site because they were anticipating to be there and start their work. However, earlier delays have kept them from beginning. That causes you schedule delays and cost overruns. So by effectively managing your schedule and looking at the dependencies, you can effectively communicate and collaborate and tell that subcontractor that there are delays and that you'll have to push back, hopefully improving your efficiency across both schedule and cost. Another benefit, which is often overlooked, is that scheduling can reduce conflicts, rework, and staff frustration. As you're managing all your dependencies within your schedule, you can see where conflicts and risks may occur, and then you can mitigate and resolve them appropriately. Additionally, if you're assigning staff or using equipment, you can see where you've over-allocated the staff or equipment. And if you take a look on screen, you'll see from FastTrack a resource-loaded schedule here where the two resources are highly over-allocated. Over-allocation can cause lower quality work, which can result in rework, and also can frustrate your staff, which then will result in staff turnover and then cost and schedule delays. So make sure you're using the schedule to reduce those conflicts and also level your resources appropriately so they're not overworked. Okay, so those are some of the scheduling benefits, and I'm sure that you're probably thinking of a number of other benefits of how scheduling can help you. So what next? What next? Go out immediately and purchase a software solution such as FastTrack Schedule so you can achieve those benefits. Well, not so fast. Technology alone is not the solution. What I want you to think is I want you to think process before technology. And I want you to think as technology as the enabler to business process. By getting in this mindset, you'll get a solution that better serves your business process and your organization, and you'll get better results. So with that said, we're going to present to you now an implementation methodology broken up into 2 phases with a number of activities. This methodology is meant to be flexible, and it's meant to provide you guidance. So as you think of your organization and you think of these activities, feel free to customize it to fit your specific needs. We've broken it up into 2 specific phases, with phase 1 primarily focused on establishing those business processes, and then phase 2 with the plan to implement those business processes and technologies within your organization. Notice how phase 1 puts business before technology. And if you take one thing from the course today, that is exactly what I want you to take, is business first, then the technology to support it. so that you can maximize those business results. So let's look at phase 1. In phase 1, we break it up into 3 activities: define, assess, and document. Define starts with defining your desired goals and objectives of implementing scheduling within your organization. Why do you want to implement scheduling? Think about it and document it so that you can work towards achieving those strategic goals and objectives. Then assess your organization. Determine your maturity in relation to those goals and objectives that you'd like to achieve. And then lastly, document the gaps between where you want to go and where you are today, and then work to close those gaps and put in the supporting business processes, policies, and procedures to help you along the way. Now I'm going to speak about each specific activity a little more in depth and cover some of the main focus areas that you should be thinking about when you're doing each phase. So the first is define. So we spoke about defining the desired goals and objectives of implementing scheduling within your organization. It's very important that you define them so you know what you're working towards. But it's also very important that you do it by engaging the key stakeholders. From a poll that we took within a prior course, we found that a majority of people that attended the course had difficulty convincing their staff and their upper management to actually use scheduling. So it's very important when you establish those strategic goals and objectives, you engage all of the key stakeholders and you work with them to define the goals and objectives. And if you're managing up and you're trying to convince upper management to get involved with scheduling, you really need to be able to relate your goals and objectives with their strategy so you can show how implementing scheduling will help them achieve their mission goals and objectives as well. Now, it's not only managing up, it's managing down as well, because with scheduling, you're going to have a lot of staff involved at numerous levels. So make sure you obtain buy-in at all levels. And then lastly, early on, you want to establish quantitative performance measures to measure your performance of implementing this scheduling methodology so that you can know if you're actually meeting the mark or not. You can also use qualitative measures as well, but the key is that you have measures so you can track your performance and you can see if you're working towards your strategic goals and objectives. The second phase is assess, where you want to assess the organization's maturity and ability to achieve defined goals and objectives. Now, when we talk about the organization's maturity, we want you to think about the staff skills and experience. Does the staff have the skill and experience to help you achieve your strategic goals and objectives? Are the business policies, processes, and procedures in place to help support you as well? Is there existing technology in place? And overall, where is the organization on a maturity level for program management? Do they accept program management? Are they moving towards better, stronger controls within their organization? To help you with your assessment, we want you to think of sort of a maturity model approach. And on screen, you'll see a triangle, with level 1 being at the bottom, moving towards level 5 at the top, which is the ultimate goal of where you want to be as far as maturity goes, optimizing scheduling within your organization. When assessing your organization, you need to identify where you are currently and then where you'd like to go. Now, that's an interesting question because if anybody was to ask me, and depending on the organization, obviously where I'd like to go would be level 5 optimization. However, depending on where you are, you want to take a staggered approach to it, a real systematic approach, because you can get benefits by slowly moving your organization up the triangle and adding maturity levels on. So don't think you're going to go from first gear to fifth gear immediately. Think about moving to second, third, and fourth so that you can slowly build that maturity within your organization. Once you're done and you've assessed your organization, then you're going to want to document. You're going to want to identify the gaps from where you are to where you want to be. And you're not only going to identify those gaps, but you're going to document ways to close those gaps so that you could start to move the organization to the maturity level that you desire. One way to do that is by implementing supporting business policies, processes, and procedures to guide your organization to your desired level. And when you do that, I really want you to think about driving consistency and cross-project coordination. Projects are made up of different resources of different groups, maybe even different companies, as we talked about subcontractors earlier. Across all of those organizations and internal and external staff, each one may think they're unique, and in some form or fashion they are unique. And I want you to cater to their uniqueness. However, I want you to find the commonalities between them so that you can drive consistency and cross-project coordination to help your scheduling initiative. Also, where possible, try and identify and incorporate incentives. So if you know that there are specific issues that certain resources or business units are dealing with, identify those challenges and try and resolve them within your processes. That'll get better buy-in to the processes that you're enabling and building. And then when you think processes, don't think they have to be big processes that are heavy and paperweights. I've been in lots of engagements where there's just huge processes and procedures, 40 or 50 pages for specific processes. You don't need to do that. You need to focus on streamlining your documentation as much as possible, because at the end of the day, the staff is going to be referring to this documentation, and you want them to be able to do it quickly so they understand the direction they should be moving in. Now, once you've completed that phase, you've really gotten yourself to where you are, where you want to be, and what you need to do to get you where you need to be from a business process standpoint. The next phase is going to be taking and building upon that business process to develop a plan that can allow you to successfully implement a scheduling solution into your organization, and then in that planning, align the appropriate technology to the plan, and then implement both so that you can maximize those results. And so then I will speak to you about the activities of plan, align, and implement in greater detail. So the activity plan. Well, we're in a scheduling series today, so planning is very important. The same benefits that we spoke about earlier in using scheduling is the same benefits that you're going to get by establishing a plan. Not only do we want you to create a plan, but we want you to communicate it in a manner within the organization that could keep all of the major stakeholders abreast of the major milestones within it. So when we think milestones, what are those major activities that will be occurring within your plan to get to the success criteria that you'd like, right? To get to the maximizing the results for your organization. So perhaps there is a milestone for developing the plan, establishing the strategic goals and objectives, identifying user requirements. All of those could be key milestones that you need to achieve in order to maximize your return. So develop that plan and develop a schedule and document within that plan how you'll measure performance and how success will be measured. This way, while you're going throughout the plan, which is meant to be a living, breathing document that can be updated as you learn more, you can measure performance to see if you're actually moving in the direction that's going to maximize your results. So establish those performance metrics. Don't forget to include staff training and certification within your plan. As we discussed, your staff may not be at the appropriate level in order to achieve your strategic goals and objectives. And when I mean level, they may not have the existing knowledge or experience to do that. So think about staff training, think about scheduling courses. There are lots of scheduling principles out there that are very important. And then later on, when you identify the appropriate technology, think about training in that technology as well to help them get to the level that they want to be at or that they need to be at in order to maximize results. Earlier, I spoke about thinking about incentives. Well, thinking about staff training and certification is a great way to pull and bring incentives into your plan. It's great to help your staff grow and provide the appropriate training so that they can grow their career and increase their knowledge base. And as you're trying to implement scheduling within the organization, what better way to get the buy-in from the staff by providing them with the training and certifications to grow their career? Therefore, they become more knowledgeable in scheduling as a whole, and also the software application that eventually is selected. Now, I've seen great plans developed and sit on the shelf. You not only need to develop that plan and schedule, but also effectively communicate the plan in its initial stages and then throughout the entire engagement. So make sure that you're communicating appropriately and that you're alerting stakeholders when necessary. So keep open communication throughout the plan. Align. So we said business before technology. Once you have the business processes established, you're going to want to evaluate, select, and align a scheduling solution according to the organizational goals and objectives you've already established and business processes. Those are really your requirements that are driving the selection of your tool. Now, there's hundreds of software technologies out there for scheduling. So what you want to do is make a first pass at the scheduling solutions and identify those that you can narrow down that really fit into your sweet spot. They're the right cost and they seem to provide the appropriate functionality. So identify your possible technical solutions and then perform a technical alternatives. Evaluate the solutions based on your goals and your business requirements, along with your staff capabilities and experience. Don't forget the staff, because you don't want to select an application that may be too complex or one that doesn't have enough functionality. So make sure you're aligning the appropriate technology based upon your needs and the maturity level that you'd like to get to. Once you've selected your solution, you now need to implement. Not only implement the business processes, but the technology. And when you're doing that, you want to make sure that the business processes and technologies are also aligned so that the processes refer to the technology. I have seen instances where business processes have been put into place. They don't reference the technology, and then a number of different business units purchase different solutions. Well, if we go back to our maturity model, we know that level 4 was standardizing and 4 was optimization. So if you don't do a good job up front, aligning the business and the technology, you could end up with multiple solutions which can limit you from easily moving up that maturity triangle. Also, once you implement, you're not complete. Make sure that you go back and you perform surveillance. You're constantly evaluating performance based upon the performance metrics you set up in the define phase, and that you're constantly evaluating, are you moving in the right direction? And where you're not, make sure you update and adjust as necessary. And this is key. I've seen a lot of people follow a similar approach. However, once they implement, they walk away. And I can tell you, even though you've done a good job up front, collecting your business requirements and aligning the right technology, once you implement, you will have changes. So you need to have open lines of communication and update and adjust as necessary. So back at a higher level picture of our implementation methodology in the 2 phases, hopefully you go through phase 1 appropriately and set up your business processes so that you can achieve the level of maturity that you desire, and then implement the appropriate solution through systematic planning and monitoring and evaluation, resulting in the ability for you to move up that maturity level and create the opportunity for success within your organization. So with that said, we'll move to questions and answers, but before we do that, I just want to go back to my firm one more time, LeapPoint LLC. I have my website up here. You have the opportunity to connect with us via Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and you can do that via our site. We are a local company here in Herndon, Virginia, and our expertise is in creative learning, connective solutions, and management consulting. So please follow us. You can find out about upcoming events, trainings, and conferences that we attend. And we also have an added benefit here. If you like or follow us by August 31st, you'll be entered to win an iPod Nano. Thanks again for attending this course today, and best of luck in your future scheduling needs.